Cooperative Governance Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma yesterday said President Cyril Ramaphosa may announce the end of the state of disaster next week. The Cooperative Minister said the 350 Rand grant will still continue. We get some reaction now from Black Sash, one of the organizations that have been calling for the basic income grant. We're joined by the organization's National Advocacy Manager, that's Hoodah Abrahams-Faker. Thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. So by all indications, we have until the 1st of April, that's Friday, at 5 p.m. to make representations to the department. What will your submission be?
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting Black Sash. We have made submissions, written submissions to the Department of Social Development, and the state has committed to the extension of the grant. But now it will be regulated in terms of the Social Assistance Act, and that is why the regulations need to be published. We've been advocating strongly to address the administrative challenges that have been an obstacle to applicants getting the grant, just in terms of the application, the verification, being reconsidered, and also the appeal process. So our submissions have centered on that, as well as the fact in terms of the eligibility criteria, the amount of the grant, etc. And this needs to be addressed quite urgently because it is an obstacle for those to access the grant. And it's contrary to what the purpose of the grant was, so that people who are not receiving an income are able to have some kind of assistance financially. And the unemployed have been excluded as a vulnerable group generally in terms of our social assistance framework. And this was the first acknowledgement with the SRD grant that the unemployed are struggling. And especially in this context now, we have extreme unemployment, that government needs to come to the assistance of this vulnerable group.
And that's just it. And on the back of those numbers that were released yesterday by the Statistician General, what does that mean for the basic income grant? Are you in favor of that?
Yes, we are. I mean, the Black Sash has been calling for a basic income grant for 2 decades already. That has been the recommendation by the Taylor Committee that was commissioned by government, that a basic income grant would address the challenges of unemployment, poverty and inequality. And here, 20 years on, we're still sitting with the same challenges, which are even worse. And the basic income grant is being put on the table again as a solution. Urgently, the social relief of distress grant is temporary, only until March next year. And so it is important that that grant transition to permanent social assistance for unemployed and ultimately work towards a basic income grant. So we hope that this period of a year will be used by government to put policy frameworks in place so that this transition can take place next year.
You spoke of administrative challenges with regards to the grant a little bit earlier on, and how you made submissions to the Social Development Department. Any further engagement on their side in terms of your recommendations or some of your concerns that you pointed out?
Well, we've been consistently making these submissions through meetings and continuous engagement, and again reiterated this, especially the fact that it's an exclusive online platform. And the DSD responded to say they have limited human capacity to be able to allow a hybrid model for people to make application in person. We're also concerned with the outdated databases that are used for people to assess whether they qualify for the grant. And it is outdated. At least the UIF is a big challenge, and that is 6 months behind. So people are unfairly rejected by this grant. But when they reapply in terms of an appeal process, it is those very same databases that are used. And so we have been pushing strongly for the ability to submit supporting documentation to confirm the state of unemployment that an applicant is in. But at the moment, it's only an online system, and there's no application in terms of paperwork that can be submitted. So it's really a challenge, and we are concerned that in terms of the draft regulations, there is a provision that says it's subject to available resources. And in this state of relief of distress, when the government has an obligation to respond to the needs of the most vulnerable. We are carefully monitoring that there is no rejection of an application because of the fact that there are not enough financial resources. However, we are also very concerned that this criteria that is being used and the platform that is being used is by default exclusionary. And we hope those are not, so that people can be excluded, so that it can be within the budget allocated for the relief of distress grant.
I mean, with all these challenges that you have pointed out, is anybody listening? Does it appear to you, at least?
Well, we don't know. I mean, we hope so. The regulations will still be published, and Black Sash is one of many organizations that have reiterated the need for the challenges to be addressed and the fact that it's an online platform. And so too have other organizations, and we hope that DSD will seriously consider the submissions that have been made by us as well as our partners.
Ms. Hoodah Abrahams-Faker, National Advocacy Manager at Black Sash, thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon.